Although food waste may seem like an insignificant part of our lives, food is wasted every day. Most times gone unnoticed, the stores and restaurants around us tend to throw out all of their unsold food.
Although there are many organizations, like the Feeding America, where they focus on reducing food waste on larger food facilities like farms and retails, there are not many people who are aware of the amount of food waste they produce in their homes every day.
In the United States, food waste embodies 60 million tons a year.
What do you do with your leftover food?
Throw it away.
Throw it away.
Throw it in the trash with everything else.
I usually just throw it away in the trash.
Throw it in the garbage after it spoils.
I throw it in the trash.
Throw it away.
I throw it away.
Do you know where that food goes once you've thrown it in the trash?
I do not.
Not really.
Like a garbage dump or something like that.
But what happens to all this food?
So what you're doing is you're creating methane and a lot of other gases. Methane is the big one in terms of greenhouse gases. It's something that doesn't need to go to the landfill. So what you're doing is you're creating, you're basically overextending your landfills more than they need to be. So if you think, I think it's like 2/3 of the waste that people create can be composted. So if you think there's such a huge chunk of those things that can be taken out of the landfill, you wouldn't have to have as many landfills because they just wouldn't fill up so quickly.
But what can you do to keep food out of landfills?
Sorting your food scraps is the first thing where it's like, it's really not that hard. You keep a kitchen pail on your counter and you sort your food scraps and you get to see that it's making a big difference. Then the next step after that is, composting at home.
What do you know about compost?
One thing I know that compost is good for nature.
Do you know anything about compost?
Not really.
Ooh. That it's good for the environment.
Not really, no.
It's like dirt with worms.
I know that fresh fruit and vegetables, they rot and become soil and stuff.
So you don't compost?
Not really, no. The trash.
Why don't you compost?
I don't have. I guess this is still a daily thing. My family's not that big on it, I guess.
Because I don't really have a compost place or a specific food waste bin.
It can be super easy,
You could just say, okay, we're going to collect the leaves as they fall. We're going to have these leaves and we're just going to take our garbage. And I accelerate it because I'll put it in my Vitamix and break it down into a liquid. Instead of it breaking it speeds it up. I add it to the leaves and it breaks down faster. There's ways you accelerate it, but nature will do it. And at home, you could take your food waste and say, okay, we're going to keep a bin here. I keep this stainless steel bucket and I just throw it in there and then I go out and add it to my compost pile. And that accelerates the breakdown of it. And you take what you need. The garbage by itself is just going to rot. But when garbage can work on leaves and derbish and stuff like that, it composts and breaks it down.
There's something called the EPA Food Recovery Hierarchy, and it's an upside down triangle, and it talks about, okay, how do we reduce our food waste? And part of it's about reducing food waste on farms, just trying to get everything out of the field at the right time. And then also feeding any kind of leftover food that we have to hungry people. So getting edible food to people. And if you really can't feed it to people, it's gone bad, whatever, it's a part of the plant that humans can't eat, feed it to animals. And then way at the bottom, it goes composting. So there's a lot of ways to reduce your food waste before it even gets to the composting process. And so I think that the big thing would be really just trying to reduce your waste before you even have to dispose of it. I studied sustainable agriculture in college, and so all of these problems come up in agriculture, and you're thinking, okay, how do we improve our organic matter? How do we improve our soil microbiology, all this kind of stuff? The answer is always compost. It's always adding compost to your soil. So it's compost is great because you're not only reducing waste and reducing things that go to landfill, but you're also building really healthy soil. It just makes sense. It's like a triple whammy, everything. You just solve a lot of issues composting. All of our master composters, a lot of them are gardeners because you just realize how incredible compost is for your garden. And it does solve a lot of issues. And so it's kind of exciting to see now that the city is composting everything, there's a lot more compost on the market. And it's like, okay, well, we're gonna finally be able to see the benefits of composting agriculture locally too.
It is important to help people become more aware that food waste doesn't just disappear into trash cans, but could go through a harmful cycle that largely contributes to climate change.
If we work together as a community to address the food waste problem, we can make a real change to the future well-being of our planet.